Well, welcome everybody. My name is Ryan D'Souza. I'm one of your NANS scientific planning chairs.
Yeah, I'm Dario Englot. I'm also one of the chairs, a neurosurgeon at Vanderbilt.
Perfect. And what we wanted to do is give you go over quickly the vision and theme of the upcoming NANS 2026 meeting, which, as you all know, is going to be taking place in Las Vegas. We're going to be sharing some of the innovative and cutting edge content that'll be part of the scientific program. We're also going to be covering some of the behind the scenes events that have been occurring and what it's been like to plan a major meeting like this. And then also in the process, we'll be sharing some of our perspectives and why we are personally excited about this meeting and what makes this event so special. So without further ado, let's get started here. So Dario, this year's meeting theme is From Discovery to Healing. What does this mean to you, and how do you see it shaping the sessions that we've put together?
Thanks. Yes. So the theme From Discovery to Healing, I think really, encompasses the full bench to bedside perspective of basic science, moving to translational science, to moving to clinical trials and actual market implementation and then policy. And it was part of the vision of our president, Dr. Ahmed Roslin, that we really, covered that whole gamut. And I think we've really achieved that. I'm proud of what we have done and what the members have submitted in our sessions that we have, because we really do have from really basic to translational to more practical and clinical studies. And it shows the whole process of how you get from the lab and just an idea to an actual product, in thousands or millions of patients who need it. So I'm really excited about how things have come together. And speaking of this process and innovation, I mean, what would you say you think are some of the new and more innovative content styles that we included as we were planning the meeting?
Yeah, thank you. I 100% agree with you. I think it's been rewarding to see kind of this meeting come together. Along those lines, in terms of innovation, whenever we look at conferences, a lot of times a traditional way of speaking is to have a lecture, have some slides, which is great. I think the traditional way of teaching works, but as we get more into more advanced content and also making it engaging content, I think we need to kind of expand our content style and move to areas where we can convey to our audience in a better way, in a more engaging way. And so one of the things that we're incorporating into our plenary sessions this year is that we're adding panel sessions and fireside chats, especially with some of our prominent speakers. And I think that'll make it very engaging. It'll kind of allow our prominent speakers and our keynote speaker to really share their story. Not only incorporating the science behind it, but also their personal story behind what made them motivated to pursue their research, and then also in the process conveying some high yield points. Another pretty innovative thing that we're introducing this year is a Jeopardy session for our trainees. So this will provide our trainees, our fellows and residents, a platform, a stage where they can go on stage, have visibility, and then importantly, participate in some gamified learning activity. And that'll help reinforce concepts. And at the end, they'll get a prize. The winners will get a prize after the Jeopardy session. So I think that's pretty cool. So along those lines about differences in meetings, what do you think, Dario, makes this year's meeting especially special and different from prior year's NANS meeting?
Perfect. Well, I'll focus on a few of the concepts that we are really honing in on in this meeting. One is global access to care is becoming a really big important issue. Both as a world, we're in some ways we're becoming more and more integrated, but to be honest, in some ways we're also becoming more isolated and more separated. So I think this is a particular time that we really need to figure out how to get these therapies, which can be technologically challenging, which can be expensive to the patients that need them around the world. And then the other big things that we're focusing on in the meeting are AI approaches and brain-computer interface. As we all know, and throughout all aspects of our personal and professional lives, and AI and machine learning approaches are just exploding. And in particular, with these devices that can interact with our brainwaves, both to decode signals, but also to change our brain's function to be able to alleviate suffering and improve neurological function in those with neurological diseases. And so, it's really growing fast, but when you grow these BCI approaches, you also need to think very carefully about the ethics of it and the limitations and the legal the legal implications. And so, one of our keynote speakers, and so one of our guest speakers, Nita Farahani, a neuroethicist at Duke, wrote a book called Battle for Your Brain. She is going to talk about that. We have a lot of technologically advanced AI, machine learning, BCI stuff throughout the parallels as well. And as I said, the global access is going to be a major theme too. So many more things in the meeting besides that, as you know, Ryan. But those are just a few of the things I'm excited about that I noticed. And I think another thing that's going to be great this year is we're anticipating getting a lot of brand new NANS attendees. I think some of this new content and new style will bring in new people who maybe haven't been a NANS attendee before. So what would you say people like that who've never been to a NANS meeting should expect when they walk in those doors?
Thank you for that question, Dario. I think, for any new members attending NANS, they will soon realize that NANS is a very heavily attended conference. As you know, we see many attendees and speakers every year. And we obviously attract new attendees every year as well. And so to those that are attending NANS for the first time, I will tell them that it is a cutting edge conference where cutting edge discovery occurs. As you know, collaboration and networking is a very key piece of the most successful conferences, and you'll definitely see a lot of that at NANS. But also to those exploring neuromodulation for the first time, I will say attending a NANS conference can be inspiring at times, and especially inspiring new ideas. A lot of my new research ideas are often inspired by looking at some of the abstracts, some of the late-breaking abstracts, as well as just talking with people and bouncing off new ideas with some of the scientists and clinicians that I see at this conference. But what I will say is that anybody attending this conference, whether you're a clinician, you're an engineer, you're a scientist, you're with industry, or a patient, I think any of those, if you fall in any of those categories, you should, this is the conference for you. And I'll guarantee you that you will learn something new from this. In addition, I'll have to say that it doesn't matter what type of clinician you are, whatever field you're part of, whether it is pain medicine, neurosurgery, neurology, emergency medicine, internal medicine, family medicine, physical medicine, rehabilitation. The list goes on. Pain medicine is and neuromodulation especially is taking over a lot of different subspecialties. A lot of the technology that we discuss at NANS really overlaps into other fields. In fact, one of the talks we are having this year, one of the plenary talks actually, is going to have a GI doctor who will be presenting on neuromodulation and utilization in her field of GI and functional abdominal pain. But as you know, as more and more emerging evidence comes up, neuromodulation is taking over and being utilized for treatment in many other specialties. So kind of shifting gears here, Dario, we've spent a lot of time on planning this meeting and hours and hours every week. And so to you, what has been the most surprising or fun part about planning a meeting of this magnitude and of this scale?
Yeah, right. I agree. It's definitely been a lot of work, a lot of fun, but a lot of work. I've been fortunate to start to get involved in meeting planning this last few years, but this is the first meeting of this size. And one thing is, as you mentioned, you alluded to there, you really spend a lot of time with people and like you and I have spent a lot of time together. I've really enjoyed it. But you get to know people well. You get to learn how to compromise. You get to learn how to delegate and out to our other leaders and members. Like, for example, we delegate quite a bit of idea seeking to our membership to try to gain ideas for our courses and our parallels. So you make great relationships. And also the other thing is, as a meeting attendee, when you think of the leadership of the meeting, you think about those people who are on stage, you think about the president, you think about introducing. But what you don't really think about is the people behind the scenes who make it all happen, because they're not on the stage. And no, that's another thing that I've found a bit surprising, is just how many organizers and administrators and our CEO and our staff, how many they are, how much they contribute, how dedicated they are, and how enjoyable it is to work with them. And it would just be impossible for us, as busy physicians, to plan a meeting to this level and to this quality without them. So I'm appreciative of them all the time. So I would say another question I have, Ryan, is, a lot of the people coming to this meeting are going to be trainees. We've done a lot of outreach to trainees, young investigators, residents, fellows, junior faculty. What advice would you say that particular group of attendees should think about when they're planning their meeting?
Yeah, important question, Dario. And I think, residents and trainees and fellows and early career investigators is one of our rapidly growing members in NANS organization. The biggest advice I have is network, network, network. It's a very small field in neuromodulation, and it's importantly in a very collaborative field. And who knows, you might meet people that you might collaborate with regularly in the future. I know for myself, at least, I've met a lot of future collaborators at prior NANS meetings. In addition, I've met a lot of mentees who I continue to mentor to this day from NANS events. And to those that are, to those trainees that are attending NANS the first time, highly encourage you attending the NANS Residents and Fellows section event. It usually happens at one of the evenings at the NANS conference. Certainly a very popular venue where you get to meet your other colleagues and other residents from other institutions, share experiences, network, make connections. And then also a lot of times it's heavily attended by program directors from a lot of institutions. And so it's a great opportunity to network with those program directors and not only look for potential fellowship landing spots, but also potential job landing spots. And so pick their brain, collaborate, network, make friends. I think that would be my biggest advice for the trainees attending NANS for the first time. And those also coming back to return to NANS. And so my final question to you, Dario, is, if you were to choose one session that you would never forgive someone for missing at this NANS 2026 conference, what would that session be?
Well, as I mentioned earlier, we do have a session on brain-computer interface and ethics and advanced technologies. That's our first session. It's the opening of the meeting. So that's Friday morning plenary. We have cutting-edge BCI talks from Eddie Chang, who talks about language, brain-computer interfacing. Richard Anderson, one of the pioneers of motor systems BCI, and then as I mentioned, Nida Farahani on neuroethics and really what this means of going forward and how are we going to control our brains and maintain that control. And then, as you also mentioned, and this I think was something you really spearheaded, Ryan, is sprinkling these fireside chats throughout the meeting. So I will guide Eddie and Richard and Nita through one of those. At the end of these, we'll keep the talks to a moderate length, so we leave sufficient time to have some really thoughtful discussion. And I think that's something that I'm looking forward to. That said, you made me pick one, but I'm really looking forward to all the sessions. I think we've put a lot of heart into it, and yeah, I
agree with you. I think going along the lines you just said, I told you one, but you selected so many. It just goes to show how many sessions we are truly excited about in this meeting. And I'm obviously super excited. One of the plenary sessions I also wanted to highlight was the session with Peter Gran, who is an NIH researcher, and he has looked into neuromodulation device for restoration of ambulation in patients with spinal cord injury. What's unique about him is that he is a patient himself. He has spinal cord injury and can't ambulate, and so it is going to be very interesting to get his perspective, not only his research, but also his life as a patient and kind of what motivated him to pursue his research and frankly achieve so much success in his research, which I'm excited about. In addition, we are bringing back the editor-in-chief panel session that we trialed out last year, where the leading editor-in-chiefs from the leading neuromodulation journals will be present on stage at the NANS 2026 annual meeting. It'll be a panel session, so it'll be a perfect opportunity for the audience to pick the editor-in-chief's brains about various key issues in publishing in their journals, but also key issues in the neuromodulation field. So super excited about that. And then Dario, just to kind of end this here, in terms of, obviously we're both excited about this meeting. There's many ways to describe this meeting, but if you were to choose one word, in your opinion, to describe the upcoming NANS 2026 meeting, what would you choose? You go first, and then I'll go.
Sure, that sounds good. I would choose tomorrow because it's a very forward-thinking meeting. We always think about where we've been, but the real focus here is where we're going with indications, where we're going with new frontiers, where we're going with access, where we're going with policy, where we're going with ethics. So that would be the word for me. What about you? You tell me yours, Ryan.
I love that, Dario. If I were to choose one word, I know this sounds like not very original. I'm just going to say science. I think it's an underappreciated word, and clean, unbiased, sound science. I know that's 4 words there, but I think that's kind of what this conference is all about. And those, science really caters to me. And if there's anything that I want people to take away from this, it's science and original research, kind of in line with the theme. So. And also kind of going along the lines that you mentioned tomorrow, looking forward to what the field holds for us in the future and promise and things along that line. Obviously super excited about this. So this was great, Dario. To those that are viewing this, please take advantage of the early registration for the NANS 2026 annual meeting. Obviously, both Dario and I will be present there, and we look forward to meeting you, and we're looking forward to making this one of the most memorable and successful meetings of all time for NANS. So thank you all so much for your time.
Yeah, thank you, Ryan, for your idea to do this introduction to the membership, and we look forward to seeing all of you in Las Vegas. It's going to be a great meeting. So thanks so much.